Okay, here goes. I know it's been a while. I have not posted a new episode. It's been a couple of weeks, and I didn't do an official announcement that we're going on a break. So don't hang me. Don't hang me. I'm here to provide an update. But where do I start? Where do I start? Is this the end of an era or the beginning of something new? I'll let you be the judge. So, as I said before, you probably noticed that I haven't posted a new episode now for a couple of weeks, and that was intentional because there's been something else I've been working on, and I've mentioned it or alluded to it in previous podcasts episodes that I'm working on another creative project and trying to balance this podcast with that creative project. So yes, I've been working on something new, something very dear to my heart, something that is very aligned to who I am as a person. And it has come to the point now where managing these two creative projects have become a little bit harder because I'm still a one-woman show, but hopefully not for long. So I had to sort of think a little bit, look at myself in the mirror, and ask myself a hard question. And that is, where do you want to pour most of your energy into? Right now, your energy is being split into two different places. And that's not really sustainable, at least not for my energy levels. Okay? Especially with a full-time job, in addition to creative projects. So after having a hard conversation with myself, I realized that I need to channel my energy in the other project and focus on that. Now you're probably wondering, what about A Word to the Wise? What's happening with A Word to the Wise? What does this mean? And the truth is, I don't know. But what I know right now is A Word to the Wise is going on pause indefinitely. And the reason I'm saying that is because who knows, maybe there's going to be an episode I record in the future that I think needs to be on this medium, in this space, or indefinitely in the sense that all these episodes that I've poured my heart and soul into, over 100+ episodes for you to listen to and catch up on or re-listen to, will still be available anywhere you listen to podcasts, but maybe new episodes won't be being posted. But A Word to the Wise is still alive, but at the moment the growth has stopped, and it has stopped indefinitely. And that is because I'm growing something else. And what I'm growing is shifting dimensions. I've mentioned this podcast on the show before, but this is the first big announcement about the new podcast I've been working on for the last couple of months. It is dear to my heart, to my soul. Shifting Dimensions is the podcast I've always wanted to do, but I've been too scared to do. Now, if you've been an active listener of A Word to the Wise, you know that I've talked about metaphysical concepts. I've had people on the show talk about near-death experiences. I've had people on the show talk about spirituality. I've had people on the show talk about chakras, Akashic records, reincarnation, manifestation. So I'm not new to this, right? But I was still trying to tone down my passion for these subjects, right? I was still trying to make them as digestible as possible for fear of judgment, for fear of maybe my audience doesn't fully understand, you name it. But in October or end of last year, sometime around end of last year, I decided that, you know what, I want to double down on the subject matters that light me up. Don't get me wrong. I love talking about mental health. I love talking about relationships. All those things are important. Finances, career, that stuff is all important for personal development and self-development. And they probably will be weaved in here and there on the Shifting Dimensions podcast, to be honest. But the stuff that lights me up, the stuff that feels like I'm breathing when I'm talking about it, is stuff related to metaphysical concepts like the cosmos, again, reincarnation, right? Psychic abilities, aliens, space. I mean, different types of conspiracy theories. I find those conversations fun, fascinating, enlightening, and mind expanding. And that's the stuff I want to do. That's the stuff that lights me up. So late last year, I decided to go full throttle, and I officially started putting ideas together, reaching out to people for the Shifting Dimensions podcast, and I launched Shifting Dimensions towards the end of January. I was actually supposed to launch it in February, but I was too excited that I just decided to launch it in January. And although I launched it in a different way than I launched A Word to the Wise, what does that mean? I launched it silently. I didn't really tell anyone about it, at least not anyone in my close circle. 2 to 3 people knew, but I didn't really tell too many people. I wanted to just put this out into the world and see what happens organically. And so far in the last 4.5 months, I've seen tremendous growth on YouTube, with hundreds of subscribers. I had a video kind of go semi-viral with 13,000 views. And in the audio space, the numbers look amazing as well. And I'm just seeing a lot of growth and promise, right? And again, just kind of, I think this is the universe kind of guiding me and saying that you're on the right path, right? And I feel it so much in my soul. And A Word to the Wise was such a sacred space because this is where I grew. This is where I did a lot of trial and error, and I'm still on the journey. So I'm still trying out different things. But this space was so sacred because you guys got to see me evolve and step into more confidence and really get some amazing guests on the show and really grow the show to a point where, you know, I believe I was really serving people and bringing people good information that they could use to, you know, in their lives and implement into their lives. And I hope to continue to do that on the Shifting Dimensions podcast. We know that we live in a world that is not just physical, right? We know that there's a part of the world that is largely unseen that affects our daily lives every single day. So yes, we can talk about mental health and going to therapy and coping mechanisms, and those things are important. Those things are practical. But there's a side of life that is constantly affecting us that talk therapy cannot deal with, right? Talking about generational curses and how they're passed down, or generational traumas, I should say, right? The exchange of energy when you come across someone and you might leave feeling happy or you might leave feeling sad. There are these deep things that affect us every single day that are unseen, that are not understood. And then when we even think about the concept of religion and God and how we connect to the divine, if we connect to the divine, that plays a huge role in how we see ourselves, how we see others, and how we move through this world. So on Shifting Dimensions, we take everything that we've been talking about on A Word to the Wise, and we go way deeper into the quantum realm. We literally are shifting into different dimensional ways of thinking on that podcast, and that is exciting. Some of the concepts you might resonate with, some of them might go over your head, but I am here to push the envelope and really dig deep into those concepts. I mean, some of the things that we villainize in this world, like some of the belief systems that we have, we've never challenged them, right? So in Shifting Dimensions, I'm really set on, again, following my curiosity, asking the questions that people are too afraid to ask, having conversations that seem out of the realm of possibility but could potentially be true, and ultimately trying to find what is the true nature of reality, what is the true nature of what it means to be a human being. Those are the things I'm tackling and so much more. Though I'm so excited about this new journey, this new podcast I'm embarking on, it was so hard to let go of A Word to the Wise. Because again, A Word to the Wise was such a sacred space. This was my baby. I poured so much into this. It was hard to let go. When I started Shifting Dimensions, I remember, a friend asked, "Are you going to do both? Can you do both? That doesn't seem possible." And I was in denial. I was like, yes, I can. Yes, I can. I'm going to do both. We'll see. I might let go of A Word to the Wise. We'll see. But I'm going to do both because I like talking about, both subject matters. I want to hold on to both. But the truth is, I couldn't let go of A Word to the Wise. Like, when you pour so much into something, you can't release it. But I'm realizing now that A Word to the Wise has served its purpose and will continue to serve its purpose because these episodes are still available. And maybe once in a while I might pop in here and there. But in the grand scheme of things, it has pushed me, it has shifted me into a new chapter, into the next step that I need to take. Again, like I said, A Word to the Wise was such a sacred space, and I needed to do this for 4 years to learn, to grow, to let go of fears, to let go of some sort of, self-inflicted judgment or fear of what people might think in relation to like things that I talk about, how I talk about things. Are people going to think I'm weird? Or people going to think I'm crazy? I mean, these are thoughts that nobody has come out and told me, but these are internal thoughts that I've dealt with that have held me back from really pursuing a podcast like Shifting Dimensions. And I'm so excited about it. And if you are someone who is interested in those topics, if you're someone that's fascinated by those topics, you definitely want to follow Shifting Dimensions. And if you're not, that's okay as well. If you know people in your life that are, please share the podcast with them. I'm also trying to grow the podcast page. We're Shifting Dimensions _pod on Instagram. Make sure you follow the page so that you can keep up with new episode drops and all the good stuff there. You can follow us on YouTube, which is just Shifting Dimensions, and you can subscribe to our podcast page, or you can subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Now, there might be a question that comes up for you where it's like, well, why didn't you just rebrand A Word to the Wise since you're already having some of those conversations on the podcast already? Well, that's a great question. I felt like because A Word to the Wise, again, was such a sacred space for me to grow, I needed to create a new space, kind of like a rebirth, right? A space where there was no baggage of fear, of doubt, just a new space to be free and create unapologetically and be as authentic as possible. And that's why I decided to create Shifting Dimensions as its own platform, as its own entity, separate from the past or the trials or the evolution of A Word to the Wise. So I just want to thank you all for rocking with me, for supporting me on this journey, right? And sometimes I ask myself, like, this is such a labor of love for me. And it's just something that, like, it's not even like an obsessive thought, like, oh, I need to do it. It just feels like this sort of assignment, right? It feels like a burden, but a burden of purpose, right? And my goal always, really and truly, is not just to sit here and talk to you guys about different things. I don't want to just hear myself talk. I hope that as you listen, no matter how mind-bending the conversation is, that you're able to walk away with something that can benefit your mind, your soul, and your spirit to become a better version of yourself, or to release any sort of doubts or hang-ups, or, maybe get to a point where you understand something a little bit differently. Like, I want to connect with you on a soul empowering level. That is just my ultimate goal in the grand scheme of things. So thank you so much for supporting A Word to the Wise. And even if shifting dimensions is not your thing, I totally understand that. But like I said, please share it with people who you think it might resonate with. But I just really, really appreciate you for holding space for me to grow. And, just, again, the constant support, the constant listening. And I just really appreciate it. Like I said, I'll let you decide if this is the end of an era or the beginning of something new. Again, there's an indefinite pause to A Word to the Wise. Most likely the end of A Word to the Wise, but certainly not the end of me podcasting or the journey that I'm on. And again, my greatest hope is that the content that I continue to produce has a positive impact on your life. That's just literally my one true goal. Remember to always keep it wise. Till next time, peace and love always, always, always.